Hey there, friends. It is just me today, Heather from Love How Deep. I'm excited that you're joining me today. I hope that what you hear today is maybe inspiring for you. If not for you, then for someone else that you can share it with them. I know that our podcast, our whole mission here is all about ministry, or marriage ministry, and helping you have a stronger marriage in this life. But sometimes one of you is just in a super weak, vulnerable situation. And that's where I've been the last couple of months. And so you're just going to get real Heather. I think I'm always real with y'all, but you're going to just get a glimpse of some junk that Brian and I have been going through, really because of just, I guess, a lot of stuff that I've been experiencing. I'm going to do my best to get some points across, to protect people that need to be protected in this situation, to say what I need to say. I am definitely praying that what you hear is godly. It's what he would want for you to glean from this as well. And now I'm rambling, and that's my problem. I don't know. Sometimes I need to focus down on what I'm saying. Yeah, so I'm going to dive right in. But before I do, be sure to like and subscribe. And I think there's another word. Brian, what's that other word? And follow us on Love How Deep. We would appreciate that so much. I guess a little bit of background. I've been a teacher for 28 years, and I know I don't look it. I'm just kidding. But I really felt God telling me it was time to step down to part-time with what I do at my school. Several months ago, maybe 5-6 months ago, I was just really feeling that pull that Brian and I had both prayed about this, and that's what he wanted for us, so that we could then focus on some other things like Love How Deep and have some more time set aside for that, more flexibility in my schedule. And so we knew that was the plan. And it was a very prayerful decision. We knew that's what God wanted us to do. And then when it came down to it, let me back up a little bit. When we knew that's what God wanted us to do, I started thinking of all the ways this could happen and all the ways that I could continue doing what I was doing at my job, but it could work this way and it would be a little bit different. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's going to be perfect. It's going to work, until it didn't. And I was crushed. I blamed a lot of other people, a lot of other things. I was angry. I was confused because it was not going to allow me the time that I needed, that I thought I needed to do X, Y, and Z. And I was brokenhearted. And so I was in a position that I didn't ever expect to be in, because I really thought, God has ordered my steps. This is what he's told us to do, except that now it doesn't look like it's going to work out that way. God, did I miss you? Did we both hear you? Like, what is happening? And when you get in these kinds of situations, you start to question God. What are you doing? What are you doing to my life? You don't even know if you've heard him right. You blame God. Some people turn their back on him. I've definitely been in that in another lifetime ago for me, when I turned my back on God because things didn't go the way I wanted them to. I didn't go that far. I didn't in this situation, but I absolutely questioned what is happening, because this was all going to be perfect, and now it's not. And I struggled in a huge way. And so what did that mean for Brian? And if you see my hand go this direction, it's because he's sitting over there. Hi, babe. Say hello. Hello. He's doing that little clicker thing to make the little camera thing bounce back and forth or whatever. And he's just my emotional support anyway. So there he sits. So what did that mean for him with me in this just rut of a situation, to where I just was an emotional basket case? He was very strong for me. He was very prayerful. He would be the shoulder that I cried on many times. He hated seeing me in that kind of an emotion, just in this situation. He hated how I was feeling. It hurt him to see me hurt this much. What he did not do is he did not try to problem solve for me. A lot of times that's what we want to do for our spouses. We want to problem solve for them. I can fix this for you. But sometimes that's not the answer. That's not what we need in that moment. We need that shoulder to cry on. So that's a little nugget for you to take away right there. Whether you're a man or a woman listening to this, just be the shoulder. Be the arms that can hold your spouse and just say, I love you. I know you're hurting. I see that. We're going to get through this. Be that kind of support. Excuse me. And that's what he was for me. And there was definitely some problem solving moments when I was ready for that. We did work through some things, and he prayed for me. He listened to me. He didn't judge me. He was an amazing support that I needed in this moment. There were other things that really helped me come through the other side, because the reason I'm talking to you today is because it's been months of this mess going on, and I have come through to where I'm in such a much better place. And here, y'all are on, those of you on video can see this. Which camera am I on? Here we go, right there. Wait, he's switching. Brian's having fun with this. Okay, this book is a book that I started going through with some ladies in my neighborhood. It's called Not What I Signed Up For by Nicole Unice. And it was so good. And then as I'm going through it and I'm reading it, I suggested to Brian, hey, we should read this together because I think you would get a lot out of this too, because of something else that we were going through at that time. And so that's reading it for the second time. And then my ladies' Bible study that I lead, I was like, you know what? This is what we're doing. We're doing this book because, oh my gosh, there's so much good in this. And we all go through seasons that we didn't sign up for. And so as I'm going through it a third time, that's when all heck breaks loose with what I thought was going to happen. And it's like, what is happening? Reading through one chapter at a time and underlining and highlighting and then sharing with the ladies in my Bible study and taking pictures of things that I read on a page and texting it to Brian to say, oh my gosh, this just hit home right there. The Holy Spirit just slapped me in the face 3 times this morning. And there were so many things that jumped out and spoke to me that helped me grow and helped me move past some of the things that I was experiencing. And I'll share one of those things with you. One of them was, it's talking about God blessing you, but sometimes you don't feel very blessed in that situation, but it's actually blessing someone else through you. Okay. And what I realize is, okay, if God's blessed me with this job, and he's blessed me enough to allow me to step down to part-time. That's a huge blessing because financially, ouch. And he's blessed me enough so that I can step down to part-time. Then doesn't that mean that someone else gets to be blessed because now they get my full-time position with benefits and all that stuff? I hadn't thought about it that way. I was just like, wait, I don't know. It was just that I can't go into all of the icky details or whatever, but because of what I'm doing, I know that someone else is going to be blessed. And it was just a whole different lens that I could look through that was like, okay, I hadn't thought about it that way. And that helped me work through some of the struggles that I was feeling. Something else that kind of jumped out to me was that, like, during this time, I'm being tested. I'm being tempted. They're not the same thing, but I'm being tested. And am I going to rely on God? Am I going to cling to Him? Am I going to pray and read scripture and seek out His will? Am I going to pray, God, I want your will, not mine? Ouch. But one of the things that I was tempted to do during this time of testing, I would catastrophize about all the conversations that I wanted to have with people. Not good conversations. I had a lot of anger, a lot of bitterness. I wanted to tell everybody why I was mad, why I was being wronged, why they should have done this, and why didn't you listen to me? I wanted to let them have it in the most polite, professional way. Brian's over there. Yeah, he can tell you I was just, I would say a lot at home that I wasn't saying to anyone else. I definitely drew that line, and I felt like my home was a safe place to just really vent, and vent I did. But what I would do is I would catastrophize at 4:00 in the morning about those conversations that I was having with people. And I felt, as I was reading one of the parts in this book, I really felt convicted about that. And about in the Bible where it talks about if you have looked lustfully at another woman or man, then you've already committed that sin in your heart. You didn't actually physically do it, but you looked lustfully. You had the thoughts. So you've already committed. And I was like, if I've already thought in my mind about how I'm going to tell them off and I'm going to say this and I'm going to say that. Have I already committed that and I've already done it? And is that even of me? Should I even, is that my place to do that? I was like, oh, ouch. I just got slapped on the other side of the face by some Holy Spirit love. But it was good. Those were things that just stopped me in my tracks of, Heather, what are you doing? What are you doing? Stop that. Because it was literally waking me up at 4:00 in the morning, and that's all I would do is think about it. And I was just in such a bad place emotionally, spiritually. And thankfully, I had Brian's ear, so he would listen to me and he would pray with me and just let me talk and let me vent. And that is what I needed right then. That's what I needed. But I needed to not take it that far. I needed to commit it to the Lord and just commit it to prayer and say, oh, yeah, God, help me with this. Help me with this. The other thing that I had from going for me in this time was my ladies' Bible study where they were praying for me. And I think of Moses and when they were fighting the battle, I think it was against the Amalekites, the Lord said, raise your hands. And when your hands are raised, you're going to win the battle. Your arms get tired. Y'all know that. You get tired. Your arms are up and it's like, you can't do it. You just can't fight anymore. You're tired and you need the support system. So Moses had Aaron and he had her and they said, sit on this rock, and they held his arms up for him. And guess what? They won the battle. And it took a team effort. And I had a team of people around me. And if you're going through something where you're just like, I don't see an end to this, I don't see God's plan, I don't see how it's going to work, get that team of people around you. I had Brian and I had my Bible study group. I had my parents, my family, and my friends just all praying for me. And y'all, guess what? They were doing more than praying for me. I would wake up in the morning to people sending me text messages, screenshots to scripture that they came across that morning. There were videos, Bible study videos that they subscribed to. And they're like, oh my gosh, this made me think of you. And it wasn't like you need to read this judgmental way. It was like, I thought of you and I'm praying for you and I love you. And just read this. And oh my gosh, it was always what I needed in that moment. It hurt because it didn't stop hurting, but it was what I needed. It was just like that. It was like that ointment, that healing ointment of something that you put on a cut or a wound, a burn that it just soothes it just a little bit. And you find that strength because those people are right there holding your arms up in the battle when you don't have the strength to anymore. And like, you don't want to give up, but you can't fight anymore either because you just don't see it. And the good news is that God sees it. He sees all of it. He's ordered your steps. And what I learned is I had to walk in those steps. I was walking a little ahead of him. If you remember me saying in the beginning, I was like, this is how it's going to work. Check that box. Check it. This is going to work. Yes, I know what he's going to do and it's going to work. And that's not what he did. I'm like, but he ordered my steps. I just needed to stop, get out of that driver's seat. I didn't think I was in the driver's seat, which really goes into pride. And the opposite of pride is humility. And I was not being humble. Thought I was, but I wasn't. Like I learned so much in this situation and just even learned even more about humility. And one of the things that she talks about, Nicole talks about in this book, is that the first step is acceptance. Okay, acceptance of what? That I'm not going to get what I want sometimes. Yeah, not getting what you want. And can you accept it? And can you be humble in that and say, yeah, okay, God is ordering those steps and they're just a little bit different than I thought they were. I can be okay with that. And I struggled with that because I'm like, okay, does this mean that I'm just sticking my head in the sand? Does this mean that I'm sweeping it all under the rug? Does this mean that I'm just going to lay down and take it? I'm just going to just continue to be miserable? Does this mean, yeah, have I said all that I wanted to say on that? Is that what you mean by acceptance? That fine, just go ahead and keep abusing me in the situation or whatever. I wasn't being abused, but that's the only way I know how to put it. Is that what that means? No, it's not what it means. It means I'm accepting whatever the Lord's will is for my life, because it took me a long time to get to that place to where I could say, I want your will more than my will. And it's crazy because that's one of the things that I say to my ladies in my Bible study, that I'll say to Brian in a situation or someone else that I'm talking to that's going through something. You want God's will more than you want your will. And that is hard to say. It's so hard to say. But I did have to get to that point. Could I accept his will more than I wanted what I saw? And I did, like I said, it took a long time to be able to get there to do that. There were a lot of moments that I had. I remember in church a few weeks ago, just in worship time, just bawling my eyes out and just crying out to God. And I was just like, God, because I was hurting so much. And I was like, God, when is this going to start hurting? And I felt him say, when are you going to give it to me? And I was like, God, it's hard. And he said, I know. And then, I just want to say, I don't often have conversations like that with God, but I really, truly felt him in that moment. However, my mind immediately went to, you weren't talking with God. That was you making that conversation up in your head. And then I was like, I don't think that I would make that conversation up in my head. Like, I struggled so much emotionally that I began to doubt everything in my life. Was I a good teacher? Am I even qualified to do Love How Deep? Am I even a good friend? Am I even understanding things that I'm reading here, things that I'm reading in my Bible? Is God even hearing me? Am I even praying the right way? Am I doing this the right way? Was that like, did God really tell me that? Like, I questioned everything, and it was really because I was just emotionally messed up, I think. But I do believe that was God telling me, like, when are you going to give it to me? That's when it starts to stop hurting. Can I be humble enough to give this to God? Can I say, I want your will more than I want my will? And he was right when he said, when are you going to give it to me? That's that acceptance right there. I'm accepting your will, Lord, whatever that looks like. It's okay. And I just keep saying it, it's not easy. It's not easy. I had several meetings throughout this whole process. Well, all over through the course of last week, I had 3 meetings with people of importance in my school, and finally felt like I was being heard. And I remember after that meeting walking out going, I feel heard. That feels good. And my friend yesterday, she and I were having coffee. She said, that was it. It's because you finally gave it to God, because you said you had that conversation with him. When is it going to stop hurting? And he said, when you give it to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even connect those dots. Sometimes we need other people to help connect our dots, because why? Iron sharpens iron. It does. And she pointed that out. I was like, you're right. That was the beginning of it. That's the beginning of that acceptance and that hurting to stop. Was that grammatically correct how I said that? I have no idea, and I call myself a teacher. Thanks for sticking with me, y'all. But it was moments like that, and it was these conversations that I was having that were actually in a good way, not in a kind of way. And it was interesting because Thursday night, that's when I finally got to the place as I'm going to bed, and I'm texting some people, they're all praying for me, and I'm texting them, letting them know that I'm about to have a conversation in the morning. And I had planned on going in with a few demands, said in the best way. But I started feeling that night not so right about all of those things that I felt like I needed to say or do. And I remember texting my friends, and I said, God, your will, not mine. Jesus said that to his Father the night before he was crucified. He said, if this cup could pass from me, let it, but not my will, thy will be done. And that's what I want. And it was like, it hurt to even say that. It hurt, but I knew that it was right, because sometimes when you do the right thing, it still hurts. And I was like, okay. And I went to bed that night, and that's where I left it. And when I got up the next morning, I just started second guessing my purpose for the meeting. And it was like, wow. And then I've got a Bible study that a friend emailed to me. I've got another thing that somebody else sent to me. And I remember on the way to work, I forwarded that email, that Bible study, to Brian, and I was like, read it out loud. That was the 3rd time that I'd heard it. Like, I read it twice. I prayed through that, prayed through everything. And then Brian, as he's reading it, like, I'm talking through my emotions because I was still feeling all the emotions. And they say you're in all your feels. I was in all my feels. still. But God used all those things. Iron sharpens iron. He used all those things to help bring me to the place that I was at by the time that meeting rolled around 30 minutes later. And my purpose changed. It was his purpose. And I was able to talk, and I was able to share my heart, my fears, what I was going through, and I didn't ask for what I felt like I deserved. I didn't. And I was okay with that. And I walked out of that meeting feeling heard. And that was important. And knowing that I was finally at that place of, I'm giving this to God. This isn't the season that I signed up for, what I'm learning in this book, but I'm learning more and understanding more about that humility and about accepting God's will for your life and trusting him no matter what that looks like when I don't see the outcome, because I fear the unknown. We all do. That's why we do these things and make these plans for God. And Abraham took it into his own hands, and he had Ishmael and then Isaac. And there was like, you don't want that Ishmael, you want Isaac, you want his perfect plan. And those are just some things that just got rooted into me a little bit more deeply over the last few months and with these struggles and emotional struggles. And I guess if you find yourself in that kind of place, in that season that you didn't sign up for, I would absolutely recommend, where's it at? There we go. Getting this book right there. Going through it one page at a time. I like to say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So you do one page at a time, and you learn and you grow and you share it with somebody else. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Prayer and having those people around you, iron sharpens iron, that let you cry on their shoulder, that let you just scream and yell and fight and say all the things that you want to say. You got to get it out there, but then get up and move forward. Don't stay there. And I did for a little while, but I had these people around me lifting me up. Be that friend to someone that you see in that situation. Be that person for your spouse if they're in that situation. You know, when one is strong, the other one is a lot of times is weak. And that's how you balance each other out. Sometimes you got to pull the other person up. Sometimes you just have to cry on my shoulder. Let them do that. You've got to give them the hug, give them the words of affirmation, be the person that they need in that moment. Really refrain from, dude, come on, get over this. Stop whining. Don't be that person. Don't be that person, but be the friend and the wife or the husband that God is leading you to be in these moments. And those types of things strengthen your bond with each other. I know that, like I said, I know that Love How Deep is all about marriage, but sometimes you're going through a mess right now and you just need some encouragement. You can get through it when you can't see what God is doing, but he is doing something, and just stay strong in your faith and let him order your steps. All right. I'm going to leave y'all with that. And thank you for listening, joining me, Brian. How do I finish this up? Oh my gosh, I'm not the professional one here. But thank you so much for taking the time to watch. We'll see you next time.